Welcome back to the Webby and O'Neill channel and Manchester United news. And Tyrell Malacia has returned to first-team training this week. We're also going to dive into Luke Shaw's continued absence and take a look at Jose Mourinho's press conference as he makes a bold prediction about Manchester United this season. Get involved in the chat, as ever, Reds, with your own opinions, and we'll try and discuss them throughout today's video. Also, leave a like on the video to support the channel and subscribe. Just do it, because we're expecting a Turkish delight on Thursday night. Get involved in the chat, as ever. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling fine. Looking at the players training there, sort of perked me up. I spoke yesterday that the mood's right. Looking at the players, they're bouncing. I looked at Tyrell Malacia. My God, for a player what's been out that long, he looks in tip-top form. I was made up for him. He looks really healthy. He looks as though he's ready for it. And to be honest with you, I think we might see him over the next 2 games against Fenerbahce and West Ham. Will he start Thursday night? Not too sure. Don't know what Erik Ten Hag's thinking. Might find that out later. But for the kid, what's been out that long, I'm telling you now, I'm made up for him. He looks fit and raring to go.
Yeah, updates as well. Jonny Evans wasn't seen in training yesterday and today on Wednesday. I think he'll be rested for this one. Anyway, looking forward to that West Ham game on Sunday. There was news on Casemiro. He's in training after that knock, what he picked up against Brentford. So good news there. But Emmanuel Ugarte, seen him in training today. Will he get a start against Fenerbahce? That's the big question everyone's talking about.
Yeah, Ugarte, you know, is he going to feature? He's got to start. I think he's got to start. I don't see any reason why not. But Ugarte, for me, is due a start. Maybe he's on the bench and then starts at West Ham. Who knows what the rotation's going to be. But he looks fit. And that's another good thing about watching the training. He looks fit, hungry as well. Now, you touched on Evans there, son.
I just touched on your mobile phone as well. I think it was Bluer who just called you. Bluer, if you are watching, mate, don't be ringing him while he's doing a live stream. It'll knock him all off the senses. So Get involved in the chat, everyone. Let's discuss the squad going forward. Jonny Evans, like I mentioned before, I expect him to start against West Ham on Sunday. De Ligt did put in a good performance against Brentford for me, so I wouldn't mind seeing them two play together. I think it is still a bit early for Tyrell Malacia to be starting games, especially with him being out for 17 months. I do think his return to the first team and the match day squads will be like limited. They'll have to like play with it a little bit, if you know what I mean.
I don't know on Malacia. I've seen Ten Hag brings players back in and then start them. So as I said, Malacia looks really fine. But Jonny Evans, I go back to last week, a conversation he was having, doing an interview. He said it's tough for him after a game. It normally takes about 3 days. So whatever's going on with Jonny Evans, you know, this rest will do him the good. Bit of fitness, sort of tweak a little bit minor problems what he's got. So you expect Jonny Evans to be back in the fold for the West Ham game. Whether he starts or not is another thing. But he's played well, so he might have a part to play on Sunday. But definitely looks as though he's way out of the game on Thursday. Now, looking at De Ligt, I have to say, looking at some of these players in training, they look fresh, but they look hungry as well. And the player what's outstanding for me is De Ligt. I've seen him there walking on the pitch, running around, playing football. He looks a beast. He looks different than some of the other players. So I think De Ligt, he has been a bit like under the water where people have gone at him and all that. But as I've said, I've defended De Ligt. I think it's early days for De Ligt. It's got to take time for any player to get involved. But looking at De Ligt there, out in training, he just looks a head and shoulders above a lot of these players in fitness and in character.
The thing is, you want players to set examples in training. And I'm not too sure whether we've got too many of them players who set the examples in training, where they put everything in. So the training some weeks is harder than the actual match days. We've heard a lot of the Class of 92 ex-players discuss training week in, week out, that it was easier some weeks than it was on a Saturday. And De Ligt, he does look like one of them characters for me who is a leader. He's got the experience, still at a young age as well. Yeah. But he did shirk it a little bit when he come out in training today. He had a short sleeve top on, and then moments later he's there in a long sleeve top. So, you know, the Manchester weather does get you.
Yeah, I don't blame him on that. But he looks solid, and I think there's more to come. Definitely more to come from De Ligt. I'll go back on that Ugarte. There's nothing stopping him really playing, and it's baffling what's going on. His fitness is there, clearly. He has to feature tomorrow night or Sunday, has to feature for me, because they chased him all summer, and it's getting more and more baffling for a lot of fans out there of why he's not coming. And you've got to sort of look at Ugarte and sort of say, we chased him that much, right? We actually swapped him for McTominay, and you see what McTominay's doing, a player what Erik Ten Hag wanted to keep, and he's just like piling it on over there for Napoli. So Ugarte here is like supposed to be above McTominay, and we're not using him. So we need to start seeing him on the pitch, or there's doubts of what's really going on here.
Yeah, just going back to Malacia there, what I was just trying to discuss before the phone went off, Ed fell off with Blue ringing, is they will have to manage him though coming back, Malacia, won't they?
Yeah.
Sometimes with Erik Ten Hag, when you see players return to first team training with the rest of the group, he does tend to throw them in straight away into the match day squads. But surely they've got to be a bit more cautious with a player that's been out for 17 months. You know, the actual operation that he actually had, it didn't go as planned, and that's what's kept him out by all reports for as long as it has, like for 17 months. So with him, they have got to be a bit cautious with him bringing back. So until then, you know, do we keep playing Lisandro Martinez there at left back? You know, do we still throw Delo in there? We've got Mazraoui back now. Would he start on Thursday night for you, Mazraoui?
Yeah, Mazraoui and Delo for me. I think what you have to look at Malacia, I think the target really is getting back in the squad, getting back training, get used to everything again. And the target has to be on the bench. That's how I see it. But I do think he might feature at some point. But that has got to be the target. I mean, if you're looking at a possible game for him, you look the following week and you look at Leicester in the Carabao Cup at Old Trafford, maybe that's something where Malacia slots in, whether he gets half a game, 30 minutes or something, but it's the right type of game to bring players through to try and get them up to match fitness. And that might be the target for him, a sensible target. Would you really want to rush him back? You know, I think their medical people might have a word with Erik Ten Hag and say this is what he really should be doing. And we've all seen what's happened with the medical team, fitness, injuries and everything else like that. It's been a bit chaotic last year and it's not been too clever at the moment, but things seem to be improving. And when we say improving, you look at Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw, spotted him out there, walking about, doing his own thing.
Well, he was in training. He was doing his own individual training.
Yes.
It looked like, obviously, he was on the grass, but doing more fitness work from what I did see in the short clips of Luke Shaw. He might be doing some ball work. I'm not too sure. If you have any updates on that or any better information, let us know in the chat. But how far would he actually realistically be away from joining that first team squad now? Would you say another week, another couple of weeks? You know, we're not doctors on here, but usually when lads are doing their individual training, it's not too long before they return to the first team training squad.
Well, if you look at Yoro, he's out there doing his personal training. He's not back with the first team. So I think Luke Shaw, when you look at it, I think the reality is a long way away. I don't know what the problem is, why it's carried on. We don't get any real updates in that. But I think he's a long way, to be honest with you. If you look at it, last February, it's the last time he played for United, and things have just gone pear-shaped for him, for the club, because he is a big miss at that left full-back place. But I still think there's a long way to go for him just to be running around, probably a bit of ball work, like you say, Kieran. There's a long way to go here with this Luke Shaw. And there's never really been a clear update from Ten Hag when asked about it, what the real problem is. And he sort of like left it in the air. So I'm going to leave it in the air. I think there's a long way to go yet.
Surely we've got to be expecting him back after that international break in November, surely. You know, you'd like to think Malacia's there or thereabouts in his fitness, his game time to actually be starting games, surely.
Yes,
you know,
Malacia, yes.
You know, let's say they both are, Luke Shaw and Malacia, ready to start in the first team.
No,
would you still then look to go out and buy another left-back or on loan in January? Or would you give them to the rest of the season, then look at it again in the summer?
I think the problem with the left-back, you have to wait and see if there is a problem further on near Christmas time, January time. I think that's when you have to look at it, because there's no real way of judging how far Malacia is going to go, how he's going to last, his fitness, Will he break down again? So it's a matter of time with him, and the same with Luke Shaw. But I think what you can definitely say about Luke Shaw, he will break down again. His body, he's older, it's just a recurrence time and time again. So looking at a replacement or looking at bring someone in, I think maybe around the Christmas, January time, there might be a decision, and it might have to be made. Malacia, like I say, just give him a bit of time. No mad rush. Look at the possibility of Carabao Cup on Wednesday night, and let's just take our time with him.
Yeah, he must be itching to get back into that.
Well, he looks it.
Yeah, into the first team squad, especially getting on the pitch at Old Trafford or in an away game. And my point the other week about Malacia possibly playing more Premier League games this season than Luke Shaw was because if he doesn't suffer any recurrence or side effects from that injury that's kept him out for so long, I would see him being available for a large amount of games this season. Whereas Luke Shaw, it seems to me, I could be wrong here if my memory doesn't serve me right, but he plays for 4 to 6 weeks and then he's out for a number of weeks as well with Luke Shaw, and it's always to do with like different muscle injuries, etc. So,
I'll say this to you now.
The great thing would be both of them to stay fit, and you can do that rotation in that left back position, whether it be cup games, Premier League games, etc. And just rotate that between them. And you've also got to remember with Luke Shaw, he does well at centre back on that left-sided defence for me.
Yeah, but I've got no faith, whatsoever. Many people out there have got no faith in Luke Shaw playing more than 4 games on the run. I personally don't think we'll see Luke Shaw this side of Christmas. That's how I see it, because I just think there's something seriously wrong here, and I can't explain what it is because I don't know. I've had no updates in that. But looking at Luke Shaw, looking at what's gone on in the past with his injury record and everything else, what he's missed, I think it's after Christmas we'll see Luke Shaw.
You would expect when he does return to the first team training with the rest of the squad, or even be involved in the matchday squads, you'll expect a lot of positive PR, I think, around Luke Shaw, because I think there's a lot of negativity amongst fans, and quite rightly so, in how he managed himself over the summer at the Euros, and then how he come back, didn't obviously look after himself, and then broke down again, and that's why he's been out since then.
You talk about negativity. I'm not going to be negative on him. I'm going to look at Luke Shaw from the point of view, value to the club going forward, age, everything else like that. It's been here a long time, his injury record and all that. And I personally think, like I say, after Christmas you'll see him, and I then think that in the summer they'll be looking to offload Luke Shaw in any way they can. They don't see him as a long-term in this team because of his injury record. It is not going to change. His body suddenly isn't going to be the perfect specimen. So I think further down the line, they'll be looking at some point to sort of say, Luke Shaw, on your way, son, let's find you a club. I think that's how it's going to be. Yeah,
he was talking about Alvaro Fernandez last week, wasn't he? Erik Ten Hag obviously sold him to Benfica. I think they've got a buyback clause in there as well. And he did sort of like mention it in a certain way, unveiled that, they are keeping tabs on him, and it is a possibility where United are in control to have that first option on him. And there's a lot of people out there who leave comments on the channel, keep mentioning Alvaro Fernandez as though he should be brought back to the club.
Well, maybe they might be thinking we've got control of what goes on with him, and they might be thinking further down the line, let's just see how it goes with Malacia, with Luke Shaw, and if they are in control and they want him back, then bring him back. At the end of the day, they will be getting rid of Luke Shaw. They will persevere with Malacia. He's a young lad, but the option is there. When they try and bring him back, is anyone's guess, to be honest with you.
Jose Mourinho has made a bold claim that Man United and Tottenham are favourites to win the Europa League this season. Do you see it that way out there? Let me know.
Well, I've listened to Jose Mourinho for many, many, many years, and sometimes you have to sort of look at it and think he's taking the mick, or he's having a go, or he just plays them games with you. But today I listened to him and I thought to myself, he was very respectful. He talks about United in glowing terms and everything else like that. And the bold claim about United being favourites and Tottenham being favourites for the Europa League, I don't think he was messing around. I think he genuinely believes that Manchester United, with the other things what he said about United and how he looks at it, I think he genuinely believes United can win this Europa League. And to be honest with you, if things turn around and they start picking up, like I say, this Europa League, it's a long league, and we should be qualifying quite easily for this, the way the structure is. So going forward, if things improve, we should be up there as contenders, and I don't think he's taking the mick.
Yeah, he did also add in his press conference that maybe you think I'm bluffing or playing mind games, that Man United have a better team than their results are showing. We watch everything on Manchester United. There is work there, and sooner or later they will succeed. Hopefully sooner, and hopefully before I go back to the Premier League. So he's left himself open as well for a return to the Premier League. Some out there might say he's leaving the door open, charm offensive, like you said before we come on stream, leaving it open to Manchester United, to Jim Ratcliffe, etc.
I thought his comments at times, talking about going back to the Premier League, I just thought at times it was a charm offensive. At the time I thought, is this a charm offensive to Ratcliffe for the end of the season if things go pear-shaped, to remind him, hey, I'm still here, I'm capable. But he was talking about the Premier League. So that won't go down well. And I did say the Turkish media have been right on Jose Mourinho, and he didn't look up for this at all on the face of Fenerbahce, and I think he will cause a right stink there with some of his comments about going back to the Premier League, because they are angry over there, and I think that is an advantage what we've got. I think if things go wrong in the game early on for him, I think you will see fireworks out there.
Yeah, a few people mentioning in the chat about Mason Mount. You didn't want to talk about him the other day. He did have a scratch, what he revealed on Instagram after we got walloped by Spurs at home. I have seen the latest updates suggesting that he has picked up a knock as well. I don't know if it was through that game against Tottenham or in training, but that is where we're up with Mason Mount. When he's going to return.
I said the other day, for anyone what's watching and missed the video the other day, I am refusing to talk about Mason Mount at this moment.
Okay. Tony in the chat, can't wait for tomorrow night. Think we'll have a good game and come away with all 3 points.
Well,
Turkish delight.
I spoke yesterday saying, early on I thought a draw to do was good, and then I've suddenly, the game has got bigger and bigger, and I've got to acknowledge that the atmosphere, everything, and looking at the players training today, it's there. I do feel it, and I can see it now, and it's a win, and that's what I said yesterday. But Jose, I believe, looking at him and listening to him, I think he's really worried that Man United will win. But do you know something? With Jose, sometimes, shrug of the shoulder and all that. And I think he realises he's up against it. There was talk there about the game winning against Brentford and that. And he talks about United, the potential and everything there. And he talks about Erik Ten Hag. And he talks about the stability and the trust Erik Ten Hag's got from Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and all that. He never had that. He never had that trust and the stability, but he sees it there in Erik Ten Hag by the people backing him, and he also sees the potential. And he's not an idiot, Jose Mourinho. He does play his games and all that, but like I said at the beginning, I don't think he's playing games here. I think he's got a genuine love. He talks about the fans and everything. Talks about Sir Alex Ferguson, about the love and everything else like that. And I think he's got a genuine affection for Manchester United. Yes, and understandable about the way he was treated. But he also points out how Erik Ten Hag is being treated in this press conference he gave. And he clearly says he's getting the stability and the trust from the people. And I think he's sort of saying it's now being passed on to the players. The players understand there's the stability and trust here, and there's long-term what's going on with what Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are doing.
For me, Mourinho sat there, luring Manchester United into a false sense of security, bigging up the team about how it will succeed in the near future. Mentioning Erik Ten Hag as well, his time at Manchester United, his rapport with fans, and I don't believe. I'm not saying he's not telling the truth, but I do think there is an element of mind games there, you know, to big Manchester United up, take the pressure off his team Fenerbahce, as to say this team, Manchester United, should be coming here and beating Fenerbahce. And that's the sort of things Mourinho does. He's done it plenty of times in big games, and he knows better than most managers out there. He's top class at doing these mind games and putting the pressure on the other teams so they buckle.
Yeah, but listen, I expect Erik Ten Hag's press conference just to go simple as, I ain't listening to Jose Mourinho. I ain't listening to anything else. I'm just concentrating on my team and everything else like that. And I don't think these players will even be looking at Jose Mourinho's press conference or anything like that. You know, going over to Turkey, it's late kick-off over there. They've got a lot of work to do, a lot of rest to get in, bit of training and everything else like that. I don't think they've got time to listen or even care. I don't think Erik Ten Hag will even care what Jose Mourinho is saying, because he knows the games can be played. It's only my belief that I think there's a lot of genuine affection and talking what he's done today about Manchester United. But Erik Ten Hag won't take any notice. You know, he's a strong character, Erik Ten Hag, and he knows all about Jose Mourinho, and he knows what games are being played. He even plays the games himself, Erik Ten Hag.
Starting 11 against Fenerbahce, going the same back four that started against Porto. Midfield, Casemiro, Agati with Eriksen in the 10. Rashford on the left, Ahmad on the right with Højlund up front. And I think there'll be some rotation, possibly at half-time or 50, 60 minutes between Rashford and Garnacho. Let me know what yours is. Score predictions as well.
I think the Garnacho is a wise one, which I'm going along with. I went along with it the other day. I think that's fine. I think he's going to play Ugarte. I do. I honestly think he's going to play Ugarte. Not too sure about... I look at the combination Ugarte and Casemiro, do you know what I mean? But Casemiro, like I said, back in training, everything's fine there. But I think it's time now to put Ugarte in, and it'd be a good game to put him in, to be honest with you. He is he's a fighter. You know, some people talk about him being a warrior, and I've not really seen that much of him. I've seen clips, but I've listened to what people have said. So I think it'd be a good introduction to go to Fenerbahce and put Ugarte there. I think it'd be suited for him, and it's the type of game you sort of need to give that player the lift, the confidence and everything. Go out there, perform, and then it makes everyone around him look and say, "How are we going to get this kid out the side?" And I think that's what the trust he needs to be put out there. You go and do that job and do it well, and I think he will.
Paul 3-0 Man United. James Carey 2-1 Manchester United. Hopefully, the life of Riley 3-1. I'm back in. Get your thoughts and opinions in on tomorrow's game. We'll be back straight after the match with a match reaction. So come and join us. Get that notification on, and we'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your day, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.